Hello everybody, my name is Jacqueline and today we are doing the mid-year freakout tag. So let's jump into the very first question, which is, what is the best book you've read so far this year? And that title goes to Writers and Lovers by Lily King. So it's sort of a coming of age story, I would say, about a 30-something that is a little lost in life, and that kind of feels a little close to home nowadays. It's set in the 1990s. This woman named Cassie is a waitress, but she is also a writer, and she's dealing with writer's block and financial issues and family drama, and she's dealing with the grief of losing her mother recently, and all of these things culminate to her figuring out what her path is. And it's sort of beautiful to watch and particularly beautiful to read because Lily King has such gorgeous prose. I think she has something very nostalgic to her writing. It is blunt and yet tender. It feels like I've been reading her for years. It feels like coming home in a book. And it's crazy because this is my first introduction to her as an author. There's a really special line. There's a lot of special lines, but there's a specific one that I'd like to read to you guys to kind of give you an idea of what Lily King's prose looks like. But right on the heels of that feeling, that suspicion that all is not yet lost, comes the urge to tell my mother, tell her that I am okay, that I have felt something close to happiness, that I might still be capable of feeling happy. She will want to know that, but I can't tell her. That's the wall I always slam into on a good morning like this. My mother will be worrying about me, and I can't tell her that I am okay. Next question is, how many 5-star reads have you read so far? So I actually counted this morning, and 10. 10. That feels like a lot. It is a lot. I mean, I've read up until let's say the end of June, I had read about 54 books already. And that's a culmination of physical, audiobook, ebook, and 10 of those got 5-star ratings for me. How do I determine what's a 5-star? I really do mainly run on a gut feeling. And if I had to explain that gut feeling, it's sort of like, what did the author intend to do? And did I enjoy the experience of what the author intended to do? So I'm not comparing apples to oranges. That wouldn't be fair. That's why I have romance novels that are, that make you kick your feet, and those are 5 stars. And then I have literary fiction novels that really make you think and philosophize about life, and those are 5-star novels. And then I have like dark romantasy novels that, tear my entire heart into shreds. And I love that. And I love that. My 5 stars, they got range. They got range. Next question is best sequel you've read so far. So I actually haven't read too many sequels this year, mainly because I have a physical TBR filled with standalones that I'm trying to get through. And I feel like if I dedicated myself to like a 5 to 6 book series, it would just really derail my attempt to get through the books that I already have. So in the winter, I did purchase One Dark Window by Rachel Gilig, which is part of a duology. I believe it's called The Shepherd King. So I read One Dark Window, and it was so quick. I probably read it within 2 days, and I just wanted to move on to the next book, which is the sequel, Two Twisted Crowns. And that was even better, I think, than the first book. They're sort of like, I wanted to say that they are a YA romantasy, but apparently they're not actually YA. They are published as adult fantasy novels. But in terms of Two Twisted Crowns, I love the pacing. I love where the story went. I love how they tied together the end of the story, the whole plot. So it was a really great sequel, and I highly recommend the whole duology if you're interested in fantasy, romantasy, that sort of thing. New release you haven't read yet but want to. So I think the one that's the most anticipated is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. That book has taken over the internet. People who don't read very often are reading The Correspondent, and the concept of it is very intriguing to me. So it is written from the perspective, I think, Am I correct? Written from the perspective of an older woman, which, if you know me, I love older people. I work in a nursing home, guys. I love old people. And it's written in letter form. So the whole book is just letters, hence the name, The Correspondence. And I learned that there's actually a word for that in the English language. It is called an epistolary novel, which is a book written in letters. And I'm very excited to read it. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So there are two novels that I would say fit into this category, and they are both sequels, funnily enough. And the first books in their series came out last year for both of them, and they are both written by authors who historically do fan fiction. So I read the fan fiction last year, then I read the first book in their series, and now I am waiting for the second book in both of these series. The first is called The Exquisite Torment of Loving Your Enemy by Brigitte, and that just came out this month, and I got it, and I just started it yesterday, so I'm very excited. And the second book is called Vine of Hearts by Julie Soto, and that comes out in December. I'm not gonna tell you too much about this. If you know the kind of fan fiction that I like to read, then you know. And if you don't know, you might not want to know, and that's okay. Maybe another day, maybe another video. Biggest disappointment. Uh-oh, I feel like I'm gonna ruffle some feathers. I listened to Wild Dark Shore via audio, and as much as I loved the Australian man who was whispering sweet nothings into my ear the whole time, I gave this book a 2.5 star, and I don't ever give books under 3, really. Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey is a book about a single dad and his kids that live on this very remote island. I think it's somewhere near Antarctica. That's the vibe that I remember, if I'm correct. And one day a woman washes ashore during a storm and starts unraveling all of these mysteries and secrets and all this stuff that ends up happening. Things I enjoyed. I loved the descriptions of nature and the way that they described the island. It was very atmospheric. It felt almost otherworldly, and I think part of it is the point where it's almost a dystopian time where global warming has really affected the earth, and we're seeing the ramifications of that on this island. The biggest issue I had is that I just didn't connect with any of the characters. Like, I wanted to care so deeply about what it is that they were going through and all of their different perspectives, but I just never did. Like, I just could not care about the characters, the plot, where the story was going. Like, it was kind of like, okay. And I know people really love this book to the point where people are crying over it and giving it 5 stars, and that's great for them, and that is a book for them, and just not for me, and that's okay. My biggest surprise of the year is probably Yesteryear by Carol Claire Burke. It is also one of those books that has taken the internet by storm, and people are reading it even if they are not big readers. I thought it would be like fine. You know, I thought it would be interesting, the concept of a trad wife who posts herself on social media in such a way only for us to find out that she's in fact like faking it the whole time. Like, she gets all this help. She's not actually roughing it out in the farmlands like she makes it seem. And she wakes up one day and she's in the 1800s on a real farm in real bloop, bloop, bloop. And she wakes up one day and it's the 1800s and she's living the real farm life, the real prairie life, and she has to go through all the things that she has been exemplifying on the internet. Now she has to live it. And I thought that concept was so interesting. I also read this with my ears, and I found the narration incredibly compelling. The story, I felt like I was in step every moment. I wanted to know what was happening next, and every time there was like a deeper layer that was being uncovered. And even though the main character is incredibly unlikable, and I usually don't like unlikable characters, I was rooting for other people around her. Maybe not her husband, but her children and the producers, and just there were so many aspects of this book that I felt like that made me want to keep reading. if that makes sense. And I understand that it might not be for everyone. It's been very divisive, I would say, but to me, it was a huge surprise. I loved every minute of it, and I enjoyed it more than I expected, so it was a huge surprise. The next question is, who's your favorite new author? And I think I've already described Lily King enough for you guys to assume that she is going to be my top pick for this question. I just really love her prose. I'm so excited to read more books from her. I have Heart the Lover waiting for me, and I'm going to buddy read that with my friend Lana in a couple of days. So I have to finish the book that I'm reading right now so I can get to Heart the Lover because I am so excited. Newest fictional crush. This is a funny one because I feel like even my fictional men have been a little bit disappointing this year. But I guess if I had to pick one, I would choose Noah from Into the Blue by Emma Brody. I think for me, it was all of the yearning and him just like really holding on to her the whole time throughout the book and waiting out for her in a weird way. I don't know. Something about the way he was described was pretty lovely as well. It just, I'm very jaded at this moment, so. Favorite new character. So I have so many new characters that I fall in love with and that I'm really rooting for, but I would say one that I am so excited to see their journey is Emma M. Lyon from the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon. Volumes 1 through 8 are out now. I have read volumes 1 through 6 at this point, and that is written by Beth Brower. It is set in Regency era 1800s England in London, and it's another one of those coming of age stories about a woman who goes back to her family home, her family estate, and she takes ownership of it and becomes the person, the woman that she wants to be. She is independent and lovely, and she has wonderful friends that weave through the stories and become her supporting characters in every sense of the way. And I just find the writing from Beth Brower to be, oh my God, I just burped. And I just find the writing by Beth Brower to be witty and light and yet still very deep. And you're rooting for Emma the whole time. Like, you just want to see her succeed. You want her to have a happy ending. And 6 volumes in, you just become very attached. So Emma, it's you, baby girl. It's you. Next is a book that made you happy. And I think what's so funny is I don't really read a lot of happy books, but when I do, they just have me kicking my feet and feeling good, and I love a happy ending. So if there's mainly happiness happening throughout the book, then that's cool too. So for this one, I am picking The Love of My Afterlife by Christy Greenwood, and it is a romantic comedy with a good dose of magical realism, which is how I love my romance novels. I love a romance novel weaving in magical realism. So our main character, Delphi, dies by choking on a microwavable burger, and in the afterlife, she is set to meet her handsome soulmate and gets the opportunity to go back to Earth and meet him and have him fall in love with her. And it's witty, almost in a British comedy kind of way, like British humor, if you know what I'm saying. And just felt like a lovely book that still had a lot of depth to it, but was encompassed in that wit and fun, dry British humor. I very much enjoyed it, and it made me very happy. My favorite book to movie adaptation so far this year. Listen, I understand that Wuthering Heights is not for everyone. I feel like I have to say that about 90% of the books that I read. I understand that some people feel like if you liked the love story, that is, people are saying it's not a love story. It's not a romance, but there is a love story, and you can't deny that. You just argue with me. It is a gothic tragedy of a novel, and yet the toxic love between Heathcliff and the toxic love story between Heathcliff and Kathy is, it's got a chokehold on me in my heart. Ever since I was like 15 when I first read it. I loved it and I was toxic then. And when I reread it this year, I realized I am still just as toxic. And I got to watch the movie with one of my best friends, Dominica, and it was just fabulous. Just a fabulous movie, also very divisive. I liked it. And that's my review, folks. I thought the cinematography was gorgeous, the visuals were beautiful, the setting, I loved Jacob and Margot Robbie's chemistry was just electric. So listen, it may not be for everyone, but it was fully for me. The next prompt is your most beautiful book this year, and I have to give it to The Poet Empress by Shen Tao. How gorgeous is this book? If you can see, there's this really interesting like sandy texture to the cover, to the jacket, and there's a little bit of embossing, there's gold foil it seems like. This is under the jacket. I mean, gorgeous. A poem of love, a spell to kill. Ah! And the end papers. I have to show you the end papers because that's my favorite part. I mean, deceased, dead, gorgeous. If I could have this framed and put up on my wall, I would. It's so beautiful. And I'm not gonna tell you too much about the book. I'm just gonna read the back because I'm really hot and I'm getting kind of tired. And this is hard, guys. This is harder than it looks. How to write a love poem for someone I hated so deeply with every drop of blood in my veins. How to do it so convincingly that even the ancestors believed it. Those were the questions I had to grapple with if I wanted to kill Taryn. Questions that had no easy answers, but I had to find them for both my own survival and the nation's. And I had to find them fast. And the last question of the day is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I've already mentioned reading The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. Very excited for that. I have told you about Heart the Lover by Lily King. So excited to read that. As well as the two books that I had mentioned before that are coming out this year called The Exquisite Torment of Loving Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley and Vine of Hearts by Julie Soto. So if you guys have any favorite books of your 2026 so far, please write them in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I want to know what you guys are reading now, what you're looking forward to. Whatever recommendations you might have, throw them my way in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching my second video. I'm so excited and I really hope to get the ball rolling and keep doing this because as tiring and as hard as this video was to film, I'm literally sweating. Look at me. I am enjoying every minute of it and I'm so grateful that I get to do this and show a huge part of my heart to you guys. So like and subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye.